guys, welcome back to another conversation with Rob. Today I'm super excited to have my good friend Stephen Fay. Stephen is a generally funny guy. He is an entertainer, and before all this crazy stuff has been happening in the world, he used to do the comedy scene here in Dublin. Uh, I think you're from Lucan. I think you're
Correct.
from Lucan.
Lucan.
Lucan in
Lucan,
Dublin.
represent the boys.
How are you today, Stephen?
I'm pretty good, Rob. I'm pretty good. Uh,
Our paths met. We were just saying off air 6 years ago. It feels like it feels like yesterday almost that we were in London for that first time.
it really does. It feels like yesterday. We went in, so what was that? 2014?
I think it was 2015.
Could have been, yeah, 2015. Jesus, that's a long time ago. But then it kind of also feels like a long time due to this whole recent Corona thing. Because,
Yeah, I think that this has really carved out a big crater in everybody's life where it's
yeah,
like it's been so long not doing anything that people are just like, you know, what was my
yeah.
life before this?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels so long ago that like, cause I with regards to coronavirus, I kind of chart the time frame around my job and when I started working there.
Hmm.
And I was working in that job for 5 months, no, about 6 months before the Ronies started kicking off. And yeah, and then ever since then, that was well, I started in August 2019. So then that's to March roughly. That's about 6 months. Everything in the middle of that is just a total blur, really. Every day kind of going into another, like all of March, April, May 2020 were like they kind of just came and went as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I have
It
nothing memorable,
no,
which is it's crazy sad, that we've almost given. Well, I say given, not that we had a choice.
it's been taken.
Yeah, a whole
Yeah,
year of our lives.
absolutely. Yeah, I've thought that I was doing better with it than I actually was, but in the last kind of only month or two, I've kind of realized no, I really haven't been dealing with the whole thing that well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
everyone's
this,
going through it.
yeah, yeah,
It's not easy to accept that this is happening, right? Because there's some places open, there's some places that are, you know, relatively fine and
yeah,
getting on with life again. And
yeah,
in Ireland, we've been sort of stuck for the last 4 months, stuck indoors.
yeah. Crazy,
Yeah, it
absolutely
is.
crazy.
It's
Yeah, I like scroll
ridiculous.
through TikTok or through YouTube and like see people and about mingling and swapping saliva basically through this spit in the air.
Yeah.
Disgusting, but they're doing it, and it's crazy to see, and it gives you a fair bit of what's the word? Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah.
I'm hip and cool with the kids because I know all the slang like FOMO.
Well, in fairness, you're more of a kid than me. Let's circle back to when it is that we met. You
Mm,
were involved with Minute Students for Liberty at the time.
that's right.
What a
Back in,
what a legendary organization. Yourself
yeah,
and our friend Joe. And we came across each other when you had been in SFL, and we first sort of met through different channels, but we ended up going to London to a leadership forum together, which was, how did you get into the whole liberty thing? Like, what was it that got you interested in it in the first place?
in libertarianism in general, like
Yeah,
from the very beginning.
yeah,
I really don't remember. It like I don't know what brought me to the ideals, but I do kind of know what brought me to the label, the name. Like I remember being in like third, fourth, fifth year, like in secondary school, and talking with friends and thinking, well, I mean, like all drugs should be legal. Like
mm,
I've gone through the mental arithmetic of trying to figure that stuff out, and I came to the conclusion on my own. Well, I mean, if alcohol is illegal, then blah blah blah, you know. Um, But I think what actually brought me to actual libertarianism, like the doorsteps of it, was it's a podcast Legion of Skanks, which is a comedy podcast from New York, and one of the comedians on that is a libertarian. His name's Dave Smith.
Oh
He's
yeah, I love him.
yeah, exactly. I remember I cited him as my reference for libertarianism in the application for SFL. They'd ask you name some of your influences, and one of them for me was Dave Smith because he's the guy who put the words to it, and he was a Ron Paul baby, so he came from that whole like hardcore anti-intervention, uh, like don't fuck with me and oh, pardon me, don't
Oh, you can say anything you
interfere
want.
with me. Okay, don't fuck with me and I won't fuck with you, basically. Like, and it's just such a simple ideology uh, on its base that just fundamentally works. Everyone lives it every day for the most part.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just walking around not fighting each other for the most part all the time. So I think it is a good idea to try and remove force from the equation as much as physically possible. So yeah, I'd listened to that podcast and then I started listening to his individual podcast, Part of the Problem, which is still ongoing. Probably, I think it's been going nearly 10 years now, and I've been an avid listener nearly the whole time. So
I've
that
really
was,
only seen him through Michael Malice's podcast.
yeah, and I learned about Malice through him.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, he's great. He's just really really well read and really intelligent on the matters of libertarianism. So respect to him. Get me on board. So yeah, I joined SFL through that. I think that like how I heard about SFL, I think it was literally a targeted ad on Facebook or something.
Wow.
Yeah, like it worked. The algorithm got me. Fair play to them. Yeah, applied, had an interview, got in, and I pretty much like I guess I was part of SFL for a while, but the first real like activities for them was that leadership forum in London, which was a lot of fun. Well
What's it
nice time.
like? What's it like being a libertarian on campus in an Irish university?
Um, it's pretty lonely experience
Yeah.
in a way. I mean, there's not very many. You see a few here and there, but like you compare them to any of the other societies that are politically motivated, like any of the young parties and all that type of stuff. Uh, they tend to get a lot more members joining and uh, being active in general. We had a few uh, we had a few activities. One of them was we had a talk with Christopher Snowden from the IEA
Mm.
about drug legalization. Just and that was really really informative. But we only had like three people there, and one of them was my mate. So, and the other
Yeah.
was another coordinator, Joe. So I don't know. It was pretty hard to get it off the ground. It didn't really do that great, unfortunately. But sure, look, that is part of the struggle of libertarianism, getting
Yeah.
smacked down and getting back up again. So
And in relation to some of the parties, what's the reaction of some of the young parties like Young Fine Gael, Young Labour, Young Fianna Fáil? What's their perception of libertarians?
I we I'll be honest, we didn't really interact with them very much. You know what I mean? Like we we didn't get that much like negative pushback, but we didn't really get any like branches reaching out and being, oh hey, we gotta interact, we gotta set something up. No, it was people left us alone and didn't really mess with us very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No.
it would definitely be kind of more negative the further left you would go down the spectrum, probably. So,
Somehow that's not a surprise.
mm, madness, right?
Tell us this. You've always been funny, right? And I've always like known you to be like hilarious in when we're out and stuff
Mm.
like that. But you've also like been dabbling in comedy and doing the scene here in Dublin. What was it that sort of made you leap into comedy and give throw your hat at a stand up?
Um, as silly as it may sound, it was practically like the Joe Rogan type things. I remember listening to him back in like the 500s and stuff. So it's quite a while ago now, but it just seemed like a good time that they were having. You know, just shooting the shit with mates and then getting up and making people laugh for a living. Uh, it seemed like a fun way to go about life as opposed to, I don't know, sitting at a desk and, you know, logging in hours. Uh, so that's partially it. I was just wanted to try and live life on my terms a bit more. Uh, it turns out it's pretty hard to do.
I could
Not,
imagine, yeah.
yeah, there is not a whole lot of money in stand up. People can be doing it for like 10 years and stuff, 15 years, and still potentially not be making a living off it, you know? It's a serious grind because it's such a hard skill set to develop. Like you can tell a joke to your family, like a knock knock joke, and uh, they can get a chortle or two, but you have to consistently be able to make like between 5 and 1,000 people like laugh heartily for 15 minutes to an hour. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
pressure.
it is. It is a lot of pressure. You don't like, and there's a reason that a lot of people say that, like, oh, I'd never be able to do stand up because you got to stand up there and you just you gotta perform, and if you don't perform well, then it does not go well. Like it's interesting because in a lot of other performances, if you're a singer, you can practice in your room with a hairbrush singing. If you're a guitarist, you can practice your chords, you know, till days long. Drummer, you can bang around in the garage and learn your craft. But if you're doing comedy, the only way that you can actually check if what you're doing is correct is going up and performing in front of people. So it requires you to accept that you are not good and really kind of embrace that. Uh,
Yeah,
it's kind of it is a kind of a positive mental attitude to adopt that
definitely.
that you are not good enough right now and you must improve, you know. And like there's some comedians out there who can like they can find like their funny 5 minutes and they just start performing that over and over again. And like you can go to some open mics and you're still doing the same 5 minutes, you know, after like 3 4 years maybe, you know, like they're just not changing and improving. But they found their funny five, you know, so they're making those laughs happen. But they need to you need to keep improving constantly, you know, and keep writing and keep developing and keep honing your craft, you know. So it is a pretty I wouldn't say cathartic, but it's immensely stimulating
Yeah,
challenge.
I can imagine it is, and I can imagine it's really difficult to in this day and age. You know, the world has changed in the last 10 years, big time, and there's certain things that you just cannot say. You know, you hear of comedians. I know a comedian, Owen Benjamin. He's pretty controversial, but
To say the
he
least.
he's been cancelled because he doesn't have a censor button in his brain
Mm.
and he says just what he says, and you either think it's funny or you don't think it's funny. So, what is it like in this day and age with the whole uh, shift towards everything being s- sensitive, more
It's
sensitive?
yeah, it's interesting. Um, I think it's I don't want to say it's not as bad as it seems because it probably is, but I don't know. Like it's I give you an example, right? I was doing a bit at one stage, and it was a bit about an eating disorder, and I went because I went on a date with a girl, and she said, I just started a new diet. And I asked her, oh, what is it? And she said, nothing. So she just was eating nothing. So I was like, oh, that's not good. So I started telling a joke about this. And a, a, a woman in the back of the crowd stood up and said, that's not funny. Eating disorder has the highest amount of deaths of any mental disorder. And just started just yelling at me in the middle of the crowd. And that's the first time I've ever experienced something like that. Like
Wow.
it was pretty strange. So I she said it wasn't funny, and I said, I know, no one laughed. And but then as I was coming off the stage, one guy grabbed me by the arm and said, my girlfriend's got an eating disorder. And that was really funny. Keep going. I was like, oh, right. Okay. So it was interesting to me that like kind of when you're when you're taking the most flack is kind of when you're over the target, like
Mm.
the the funniest things can be the most sensitive, like the funniest the biggest laughs you can get are, out of bad things, because people want to laugh about bad things. People don't particularly like to wallow in sad things, but some
That's
people
my
do.
impression. Like, if you're going to a comedy club, you're gonna want to just leave your sensibilities at the door because you're
Well,
going in there to laugh, right?
well, to be fair, in this case, it was a open mic which had poetry, music, storytelling, and comedy at it.
Okay, gotcha.
So that that place is it's a fine tight walk to walk, but it's a lot of fun all the same because you can meet there's some outrageously talented people that go to those things. Like I've seen some insane guitars, amazing poetry, and I've also seen some horse shit there too. But that's part and parcel of it. And I've been that horse shit, and I've also been that funny. So it's very hit or miss. It's very hit or miss, but it's fun, and it's also good just to kind of hang out with like-minded people and enjoy the scene and take in the surroundings. I didn't realize how much I miss it until it was gone.
Yeah.
Just sitting in a dingy basement somewhere, sweating with 40 people as a mic is passed around. And if you're lucky, there's a mic. Sometimes there's not a mic. So
Wow. Yeah, like that must be really hard now for all the budding comedians. And I'm just thinking out loud here, like the
mm,
knock-on effect of this is that this talent isn't being progressed. This experience isn't being given to people. So I can't imagine what that does to everything, every sector really. You know, everybody locked up in their house, there's only so much you can develop a skill on your own without that accountability and feedback loop that the public and performance gives you.
yeah.
It's awful. Like I'm sure Zoom comedy just doesn't work because you need that instant.
Yeah. Like people will try and kind of get around the whole, laughter being louder than the actual host, and like ruining the pacing. I mean, just trying to hold a normal conversation. I mean, most people watching this, I'm sure, have been part of a Zoom meeting for work or something, and just trying to speak while there's three people in the room can be a little dance in of itself. So you're trying to
Yeah.
perform comedy in the middle of that. That's just nightmare. They try to get around that by like all the participants except for the comedian muting themselves, and if they're laughing, they'll shake their hands. Which,
No.
which I don't know about you, but when I'm like just slapping my knee from fits of laughter, I always do this. It's the most natural thing in the world. Nothing feels forced about this at all.
Oh no.
Developing cerebral palsy to fucking show your enjoyment.
No,
Silly.
that's not that's not the right thing. I don't know who came up with that, but that's just not
No,
the
it
right
wasn't.
thing to do.
No, they've people have been adapting though. Like I know three comedians alone who've jumped on the TikTok train and achieved some mild success from it as a result. They're one of them's politically minded, another one's doing kind of skits breaking down sexual fetishes on TikTok. Another's just doing just small 20-second, 15-second skits and stuff. So there's all sorts of different paths to go out there, you know.
Yeah.
Another's been streaming. There's a few who've been streaming. I think I'm going to try and jump into streaming myself. It's a bit of fun. Two birds, one stone. You get to play video games, and you also get to try and create content. So
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a few streamers doing the gaming. I'm just not interested in games. I think that
yeah,
the draw is that you have to be interested in games
yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah, for
Although
sure.
our friend Ahmet from Turkey, he used to do a couple of streams, and I thought they were fascinating. The games that he was playing,
Mm.
he was driving a ship in one, and he was back in an ancient land, chopping people's heads off. They were interesting.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah. But listen, the world has gone mad, Steve, and we were talking about this just before we come on that there's so much reason not to watch the news anymore. Like there's so much doom porn out there, and especially in Ireland with this whole, coronavirus, the daily statistics and whatnot. You're
Yeah,
really invited to indulge in the doom porn, and we figured out neither of us does it so much anymore. What was your final straw?
it, I remember back during beginning of lockdown, everything was bad, and then it got worse in the States with the whole George Floyd thing. I
Mm,
remember I was up like from like 12 to like 5 in the morning going through Twitter trying to find live streams of what's happening and like what's happening in Washington D.C. and then what's happening in Minneapolis and what's happening in New York and then finding another stream from D.C. from another street over. So you switch back and forth and try and pick out people from it and stuff. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen now? It was it really is kind of like a a more sick version of reality TV because it was the most reality. It was real,
mm,
you know. But anything that happened, I mean, I wish I'd realized this at the time. I could have just gone to bed and woken up and seen it there, aggregated by news sources.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's easy enough to just doom scroll through Twitter and just keep going and going and then go into a thread and delve through that and then all of a sudden you just find yourself watching two no-name avatars bickering over some shite. And you're like,
Oh God.
I could be doing literally anything else. I could be doing literally anything else, and it would be a better use of time.
Twitter really does invite you into that sort of thing. I've been getting involved in Twitter a little bit more, like with my business and stuff,
Hmm.
but it really does invite you to argue. I don't know what it is about Twitter, but I think it could be to do with the limited amount of characters you can use on each post. But there's so much aggro there. There's so
Yeah,
much just hatred for your fellow man.
yeah,
It's not a healthy place to be. But yeah, you're right about that. That whole period was crazy. I didn't really look so much into what was going on, but these these flare ups they invite so much of the news, like the coronavirus right now, the news cycle, which unfortunately some of my father, he he watches that stuff, and I just don't think it's healthy. And I made a concerted effort to not do that. Like I have a little bit of an attention budgeted for that, but anything over like 25, 30 minutes a day is far too much. Far too
hmm.
much. I might read the odd article to see, what is, maybe there's a bit of science that comes out that is interesting. But I think being addicted to the numbers, I think that's just not healthy for us. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
today there was X amount of deaths and there was this amount of cases. I just don't think that that's useful.
Yeah,
Why do I need to know that?
I don't know. But like sometimes I will talk to people and I don't know those numbers, but some people I know do track them constantly. I'm like, well,
What is
I,
that?
I don't know. Well, at the same time, because like I think that I think it could be just trying to control something, like you're able to, if you're if you're following the numbers, then you can at least control what you know about the coronavirus. You know what I mean? Like
Or
it's
maybe control your expectation about what the government are going to do. But I don't
and
think that that's necessarily connected because what the government seem to be doing is fairly arbitrary.
yeah, I mean they're not related to each other in any meaningful way as far as I'm concerned. Uh, but yeah, like I mean, if you can try to predict what's going to happen based on this or that, or figure out what R number is going down here, or what 7 day case. I don't even understand the numbers myself. I just know they're going up, they're going down. Just figure it out. But yeah, I don't entirely uh, understand. I don't entirely understand the motivation behind it since I don't do it. But that would be my best guess is that they're just trying to control what they can or try and understand as much as they can. It's a
Hmm.
very human thing, I mean, if you're in uncertain times, you try to grasp as much certainty as you can.
Oh, that is our tendency, yeah,
Right?
to be able to predict and control what it is that is in our environment. Absolutely, that's what the brain does, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that that's a useful metric because it ends up just feeding the panic monster.
Yeah. True. Very true. It's a dangerous thing, panic,
For sure.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Tell us this, Steve. You've had an interesting road in terms of a journey that I'm not sure exactly when it started, but you don't drink anymore. Tell us the story.
Yeah, I gave it up.
An Irish man that doesn't drink.
I know. It's pick your jaws up off the floor, people. They exist. They're real. I uh, I didn't drink for like the majority of my like youth and childhood. A lot of Irish people start drinking, very young, 13, 14, 15, 16, all through that. I only started when I was 18. Um, kind of made up for lost time a bit. Turns out it was great. There's so much crack. I had no idea. Uh, no, it made it easier to talk to girls, made going out and talk to people more fun. Just everything was more interesting. And have a good time. It was just great. But I was never very good at the whole like stopping the drinking, because it gets to a point where
You can turn the tap on, just turning it off is the difficult.
exactly, yeah, it was always a major challenge for me, unfortunately. So yeah, and I kind of ignored it as much as I could. When I was younger, I was able to deal with the hangovers. I was strong. I could like be out till 4 a.m. and then come in at 6, sleep till 8, get up, work a 10-hour shift,
Oh,
like that type. And it was fine. I was 18, 19, 20. Those are the good old days. Uh, but sometimes it would like have an effect. I'd sleep in and I'd be late for work. Or remember, remember one night I used to work in a kids adventure center, and I absolutely blasted one night. Uh, had a very vague memory of being on Grafton Street, and then I woke up the next morning and my neck was covered in like hickeys and bruises, and I was like, "Oh God, what happened?" And I woke up and it was like 11 o'clock. I was meant to be in work at 10. I was like, oh, Jesus. So I had to spend a whole day in work late with fucking hickeys all over my neck. And then someone on the intercom at the end of the day says, could Stephen please come to the front desk? Your Aunt Hickey's here to collect you. Oh, so I remember that now, but that was an early one. That was an early sign of it not being right.
yeah.
Uh, I like remember one night after I was coming home from work. I think we went for 12 pubs. I joined them halfway through. Ended up in Dicey's and ran off in the middle of the night. And I fucking like woke up on the street. Like I passed out on the street and woke up back some bits because I was sleeping on concrete. And
Oh.
then got a fucking chicken fillet roll and got the bus home. It wasn't even the light lick, it was the morning bus. People were like walking over me to go to work. It was terrible. But yeah, but I thought, oh man, it must have been a good night. and then we went to bed. And then 2018, woke up in the street again when I was in America. That was probably a more dangerous one. Uh,
Whereabouts in
but
America?
it was in
Chicago?
Chicago, yeah. It was
Yeah.
in Chicago. We're on the north side, so not that dangerous, but still not exactly ideal to be lying on the street in a rat-infested city like that. Uh, and then it kind of all came to head in 2019. Went to the Edinburgh Festival. I wasn't performing. I just wanted to see all the comedy over there and kind of see what the crack is. Had a great time, but on the last day, I got so drunk. I got like I wanted to have a tipple on the way home, so I got like a naggin of vodka, drank that on the way to the airport, and then I bought like a 70 cl of Scottish whiskey, thinking, oh, I'm very cultured. And I drank like nearly half of that in the airport, and I missed my flight, so ended up fucking ruining my fucking uh, flight home for that. And that kind of like was to me a wake up call. Like,
Mm.
um, yeah, most people actually don't do this. The majority of healthy people have a relationship with alcohol where they don't end up dramatically impacting their life in that way. I would say it's traumatic, but like, I mean, I just went home the next day, but it was, it was a problem. It was a major inconvenience.
Yeah, it was the shake that you needed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of really realized, oh, these actions have consequences in my life that I can easily control, and I could just not have to put up with these problems if I just stop drinking.
And
So
did you just knock it on the head straight after that?
I think it was like a week later, I was like, well, that's, because you kind of, it sits with you for a while, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow. I think I even went drinking in the meantime before that one time, like I was just kind of nearly a habit, like, I even remember during, there was time in 2017, it was pretty down, and I was just like buying bottles of whiskey and I'd just drink them in my room watching Mad Men, or drinking rum watching uh, Trailer Park Boys. Generally, if there's an alcohol in a TV show, I'll drink that alcohol, or I would
Mm.
drink that alcohol, which is not necessarily a healthy thing to do either. So I tried. At the time, I kind of realized, ooh, it's probably not great to do that. Uh, but I didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh, I'm just having a drink. Like it's the end of the night. Had a hard day in work. I could treat myself a little bit, but treating yourself and then waking up in a drunken stupor at 3 a.m. with the lights on, with your feet up on the desk, with the Netflix asking, "Are you still watching?" is not necessarily a healthy way to engage with alcohol either. So, but
Yeah.
I kind of figured it out by the end.
And then, like, to come to the end, like, how long has that been? It's
Tell
18
you
months, is it?
now. Let's pull up my app. Quit that. 587 days. So that's
Amazing.
a year, 7 months, nearly 18 months.
Yeah. So, like, what's that been like? Because in Ireland, drinking is really front and center of our culture, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been it hasn't been that bad. Um, like I've been able to before the dark times, I was able to go out and like hang out with friends and just still interact with them. And like
Mm.
they'd be drinking, be drunk, but I was still able to go out and have a good time for the most part. Um, Sometimes like I'd like when I'd be getting the Lewis home from work and I'd get off outside of Cassidy's on Westmoreland Street, which is one of my favorite pubs. Uh, but there'd just be like some mates sitting outside having a
Mm.
Guinness and just like shooting the shit or catching up. I'm like, I do miss that. Just kind of hanging out, just having a pint. It is it's a nice atmosphere to be in. But but at the same time, I know that like I couldn't really just have 2 pints. Like that's boring. That's nothing. That's what are we even doing here? Like are we drinking or are we drinking? You know, that was my kind of
Right, yeah.
that was my outlook at the time. So, like, perhaps maybe down the line, I may begin again if I feel like I've got an ability to control myself in a better manner. But as it stands right now, I don't really feel much compulsion to go back to it.
Yeah. That what you described there was my relationship with drugs on a weekend. It's
Hmm.
like let's take lots of ecstasy. Let's get lots of
Yeah,
cocaine.
yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
like
Are we partying
totally
or are
out
we
of it.
partying? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
It's fun until it isn't. Like
Yes.
you're waking up with your back in bits, or you're missing your flight, or like I remember, I think it was Creamfields or something. I took like six ecstasy at the same time,
Oh,
and I just was puking everywhere. It was horrible.
yeah, yeah,
Couldn't even retain water. It's
yeah,
horrible. Yeah,
yeah. Your body's rejecting it
yeah. It's just
dramatically.
like you shouldn't have done this. It's
Yeah,
a really bad idea. You're not going to enjoy the whole day. I just wanted to go home and be at home. It was raining. It was wet. It was horrible. I was
yeah.
just like feeling alone. I was like, why did I do it? But I didn't. I still didn't learn. I still didn't learn. I was doing it for like another year or two.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it takes some slap in the face to really kind of
yeah.
get your head.
I had to nearly die.
Yeah,
I had to. I literally fell off a building. And that's what it
yeah,
took for me. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't have to go down that road that far,
yeah.
to be honest. But to each their own. Well,
Exactly. But
thank God it kind of did happen, really, because you've come a long way since. Like if you hadn't fallen off that building, you could have fallen off a slightly higher building, and it could have been dramatically different.
yeah, yeah. Like an
Yeah,
absolute blessing.
yeah, in a terrible disguise. Jesus,
Yeah.
horrific disguise.
But it's interesting, sort of looking at that old picture. I don't know if you do this, like, but the old version of yourself and wonder what the hell was going on. What was my compulsion to do that? Do you ever
Yeah,
think like that?
I, I think my compulsion was just I was trying to have a good time. I guess. I mean,
And good time is like getting absolutely pissed.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was fun. Like even now, I think it could also be partially like some form of anxiety based thing. Because if I'm in a group and I'm drinking a drink, I'll keep drinking it. You know,
Mm,
I'll drink it fast. And I was thinking, is that what I'm doing with beer? You know, like in hindsight later on after giving it up, is that what I was doing? Is that I was just drinking so fast because it was nearly like a tick almost? Or I mean that
that's
kind of
interesting.
yeah,
That is interesting. That's that's possibly what's happening for some people. It's like
yeah.
a cigarette, right? The
Mm.
drink becomes like the tick, like the cigarette. Just putting it in your
Yeah,
mouth. It's a
I feel
relief.
empty without it, you know. And it's
Mm,
like, why is my hand not got a full pint? And I should have a pint right now.
yeah.
It's it's a natural enough thing. I mean, I nearly had a relapse at one stage. I think during the quarantine, I was like, I just want a can. So I went down. I got a Coors Light out of the can, out of the fridge, and I was just saying to my brother, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna have a can." He was like, "Don't. You're doing so good." And I looked at him. I was like, all right. I put it back and I just went up to bed and woke up the next day and I was like, oh, that was lucky. Thanks, Samuel. That was pretty useful.
Yeah.
So it is good to have a bit of support network around you that helps keep things on track. That was the only kind of scare, I guess you would say. Not really scare, but like trial and tribulation that I had
Yeah.
with it.
And like I know it's the opportunities haven't really been there, but have you gone to the pub with your friends since?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'd been to the pub like a fair few times. I've hung out with mates while they're drinking or gone to the pub.
What's that
Um,
like? How do you experience that?
yeah, it is interesting. I do kind
Drunk
of
people are annoying, aren't they?
certainly can be. It certainly can be. I do kind of feel like I'm an observer in the area because like everyone else is like they're they seem to be kind of more in the moment, and I'm just observing what's going on. But it's kind of like it kind of feels like a a wildlife documentarian, just kind of watching everything unfold around me and just watching social dynamics form or seeing like two guys on each other up like, oh, they're going to try not to fight or some other, or, like
Wow.
watching some couple like awkwardly shift in the corner, like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? And maybe other drunk people don't necessarily notice that, or I mean, that's a pretty obvious one, but just
Yeah.
watching everything unfold or watching the dumb jokes unfold is it's entertaining for the most part. It's not like I do it all the time, but like I wouldn't make a habit of going, all right, that's it. 4 nights a week, we're going out, and I'm staying sober. Yes, let's get no. Uh, it's not it, but like I'll like I mean, if everyone's going out and having a good time, I'll tag along and I'll enjoy myself too, and we'll shoot the shit. Some drunk people are capable of holding conversation. Some are better, some are worse, but
I think
generally,
everybody probably has a limit. It's
yeah,
like the third, fourth, fifth, whatever it is for a
yeah.
person. Yeah.
It does. It varies widely, but
Mm.
no, it's I've had a good time for the most part. Yeah.
Stephen, what is it that people in the world need to hear from your perspective?
People need to hear from my perspective is that's a good question. Lighten up a bit.
Yeah.
Everyone's so serious about everything all the time, and they kind of need to stop and have a step back and just realize, oh, uh, we can actually have a laugh together. Like, especially when it comes to like comedy and stuff, there's a lot that like unites people. Like, because if you want to make a whole room laugh, there has to be commonalities between everybody. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like everyone has to think something's funny. Like I mean, first of all, you have to be able to do that with stand up. You have to be able to make everybody in the room laugh for the most part. But like if everyone in the room, chances are everyone in the room does not think the same way about everything. We're not all homogenous.
Definitely. Fact.
Yeah, we're not all homogenous program machines. It turns out that there's a lot that we all actually have in common. And if we all, I mean, we can scrap to the day as long if you want, but like just stop every minute or every now and again and just realize that the the people that you're scrapping with are actually uh, human beings, and you don't need to. You can actually enjoy commonalities with them, and if you do enjoy commonalities with them, you're not a piece of shit. You're actually a human being.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that would be my message to the fans.
Lighten up and be human. I like that message, Steve. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me today. If
Oh,
people are interested in coming to see you, where will they possibly see you in the future in Dublin on the scene, making people laugh?
no idea. But why don't you just follow me? You can follow me on Instagram at Stephen underscore Fay. You can follow me on Twitter at oh, what is it? Not not Stephen Fay?
Not
Yeah,
Stephen.
at
I
not
like that.
Stephen Fay. That's it. Follow me there, guys. That's where you can find me.
Love it.
You go.
Thanks for joining me today, Steve.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
You the man. See you all soon,
You the
folks.
man.